race fans, back to another rendition of the NERDtv broadcast for the Full Throttle Sim Racing Series. 3 weeks away before we crown a champion, including tonight. And this time we're coming at you live from the simulated 1.5 mile Homestead-Miami Speedway, where we're seeing a lot of guys shuffling around the track, just like we did in the real life racing this past weekend in NASCAR. Weather on the track right now looking pretty good. 79 on the surface, or in the air, 99 on the surface. It's only a 20-degree difference this time. Not as hot as last week by a long shot. So you guys are going to see some good racing nonetheless here in the final 3 races of the 2022 overall season. My name is Jay Stan, and to my right-hand shoulder is Mr. Pashibi Neck. How you doing, man?
Doing good, Jeremy. Glad to be back up in the booth for this Homestead track. It's fun to watch these guys go around this track. It's such a challenge no matter what groove you're running. So I'm sure to see some excitement tonight.
Yeah, you were just here Saturday watching the Xfinity and the truck race. What were your thoughts on that race overall for being actually at the track, and what do you expect here tonight?
Yeah, I mainly focused on turn 4, just watching everyone come off and just trying to get a handle for their car. There's a lot of drivers out there just having a loose truck or car, and just see them kind of come off 4 together or side by side. Just the momentum that you get on the high side, and if you're going to make a pass on the low side, you better have the speed coming up in front of that guy when you slide up in front of them to keep going, or they're just going to cross over on you. So I expect some passes like that, and you know, kind of that high side momentum. But yeah, the low side is going to be where the passing is. You just got to make sure you have the speed to get off.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be key. iRacing's a little different as far as the real life goes. The high side will definitely be a factor. But the low side kind of seems to work here. So there's a really good mix of low and high sideness. We're already seeing in practice, and the lap times are remaining roughly the same. So I expect nothing different for this race. A little bit different here on the broadcast. On the tower that you see on the right-hand side of your screen is displaying some colors, because Mr. Dustin Luxon producing this thing is did some extra work underneath the hood at NERDtv. And you see the green for Bergoli. That means he's locked in. He's in for the championship. And then we have everybody else in purple. That's the guys fighting for the championship. So when I say locked in, I mean he's your points leader. So by 14 points over Nicholas Moreau heading into week 8 of 10. So keep out on those two, the 8 and the 15. I think those 2 guys you're going to watch tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be for your C Championship Series. For the overall playoffs, you still got Richie Coy leading the way by 10 points, only over James Wallace. And that second all the way to 6, Jeremy, it's only separated by 6 points. So those 5 drivers right there are just going to be battling it out. You got Tony Solari and Brian Dubois, who's kind of in a must-win to get to the final round there at Phoenix. But everyone else inside the top 6 is pretty close to each other.
Yeah, no kidding. Second is 10 points out of first, and then if you just go to 6th place, which is 4 drivers back, that's 16 points. So 6 points separate 4 or 5 drivers. Pretty impressive stuff there. So one mistake, and you could lose up to 5 spots in tonight's race. And you got 3 weeks left, but in these mile and a halves, you definitely don't want to give that ground there.
No, definitely not. And for those 8 drivers, all they got to do is win, and they're kind of going to move on to that next round as well. So they're definitely going to be pushing. As we see, though, coming off 4 right there, we just saw in the background, Jeremy, 2 of them actually hit the wall. It looks like coming off of 4 there. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see any Kyle Larson line tonight, inches away from that wall. I wish we could see some of that here in the virtual world, but the low line, like you said, is kind of the fastest way around here, and you see a lot of guys that'll take that and kind of drift up a little bit. But I'd love to see a Kyle Larson line out here tonight.
You see the 98 Chris Curtis there in that blue car up against the wall coming off of 4. But yeah, you're not going to see that Larson line. I just think it's too risky with the wall glue that happens in the sim world. It's just not worth it, and how fragile these cars are. And the grip is kind of there. I know iRacing a while ago implemented that physics where the air pushes back on your car, kind of like how it does in real life. So it kind of keeps you off the wall. But of course, if you just overdrive it by just by a fraction there, you find that wall glue, and you lose a ton of time, Kenny, when you hit that wall glue.
Oh, and it's just like it holds on to you, it won't let you go. And all you're doing is just hearing that motor drop power and your speed just falling, and everyone's blowing by you. It's not a good feeling to have in that car.
Probably one of the worst feelings, other than that silence from an engine blown or whatnot, because you have no control over it. You're just sitting there yanking the wheel, trying to do what you do, and you don't want to do that here, especially if you're going for somewhere in the points race and you want to be as far as you can. You definitely don't want to risk it all doing that. Let the real guys do it. That's what they get paid the big bucks for. So Looks like practice trailer is coming to an end. That means qualifying is up next. We're going to go on board with Paul Bergolis. He's going to start this thing off here. He was P1 in practice by just a mere couple 100ths of a second. We'll see what he can do to kind of maintain his momentum going through the rest of the season, Ken.
Yeah, him and Wayne Allen were top of the leaderboards again. They kind of been battling it out these last couple races at the end of the practice, where you'll see Wayne come in there and take it, and then Paul's like, nah, not so fast. Let me go ahead and put another lap down. So those could have been pretty fast, though, as far as we've been seeing in practice. So we'll see what comes out with qualifying here.
Richie Coy also did make it in late, did not post a practice time. So he is finally in. Not sure if he's going to attempt a qualifying lap as well, but it's going to be a blind reaction, essentially, because we have not seen a single lap turn by that 19 machine. We'll see how he does. See Paul Bergoli onboard camera going to turn number 3. This will start off his one of 2 laps that you get every time you make a qualifying effort on the oval side and on the road course side for that matter. That guy though has not changed his skin up, and it's probably for good reasons, because this guy's been bad fast all season long.
Starts it down in turn 1 pretty good there, holding the bottom as we were mentioning earlier. Gonna get a good run off at 2 and just keep that speed up heading down in the backstretch here.
While we're watching his lap here, if you guys are watching, go into the chat system, Facebook, YouTube. Love to interact with you guys like we do every single week. Chats are open now, so if you mention something, we might possibly shout it out for you. So he comes off at turn number 4, gets to the start-finish line, goes to P2 on the boards. 5 drivers currently with a lap time down. Stephen Liu Allen in the 24, Ken. He's got the fastest time so far in this qualifying session.
Yeah, he's jumped into the 32s. Everyone else is sitting pretty close to jumping in there with him, but he's the only one so far that's ran a third up. Nope, you see Wayne Allen, Jeremy, jumping up to the top of the board at a 32.849. He
was there first until Paul Bergoli ran the fastest time, and as you say that, Wayne Grassi is now taking the top spot there at a 32.84. We'll see at lap 2. Actually, the lap 2, I would imagine, is going to be a little bit faster for some of these drivers because of the tire wear, or the tire has to build up that heat, and there he goes, 32.850 for Mr. Paul, going to be in 3rd place there. Just shy of that pole by a mere 1/100th of a second.
See more and more of these guys going around making qualifying laps, see if we get a latecomer sneaking here and possibly take over the top spot. That was a fast lap by Wayne on his first attempt, and Wayne and Wayne, both of them on their first lap, was a pretty good run.
A few of the drivers out here are on board. He's going to turn number 3 here. Mr. Nicholas Moreau is the green highlighted driver. Comes off at turn number 4. See what kind of time he can post here. Jumps up to P1 at a 32.8 flat. Looks like he's going to back it down. New pole sitter through 3 minutes of the 5 minutes of scheduled qualifying. And while these guys are kind of winding their laps down, I'd love to give a quick couple shout outs to all of our partners and supporters here. First and foremost, you guys are watching on Full Throttle, simracing.net. Premier for the Cup and Truck Series. They've been doing this thing since 2006, iRacing since 2017. And they have built a following that has lasted the test of time, essentially, because a lot of these guys have been around this entire time this league's been alive. So it's a long time, great effort from the admins all the way through up until now, and keep supporting a strong system here. And you're seeing it up to 30 drivers almost every single week. So they're doing a great job here. If you guys want to be a part of the action, head over to FTSR.net, get yourself registered with the iRacer Hub. Create a team, join a team, whatever you want to do. They'll make sure you get in here, and it's a fun experience. Join them at FTSR.net. And then the Cup Series sponsor, Mach-1 Performance Race Fabrication Shop. That's produced champions of winners of all sorts of racing divisions like the SCCA and NASA. So if you're in the area and you need some fabrication work done to your car, head over to Facebook.com/Mach-1 Performance and see what they have to offer your car. About 30 seconds left in qualifying, Ken, and the top 5 has kind of remained the same. We see a couple new faces up here with Chris Beck in the 44 coming out in 5th place at the moment. Lane Allen with a heck of a lap time, really digging Homestead here. 3rd place at an 8:49. So I love to see these names getting mixed up here in the top 10.
And we're on board with Josh Johnson right now, and we're just a lap before we saw him get a little sideways coming off a 2 there. So That's going to definitely hurt his lap. And then now we're back on board with Simon Magnan as well, as he's heading down to 3 and 4. I think he's on lap number 2.
Yeah, lap 1 here. He's making a late effort here. He's not going to beat the clock as the checker flag is waving now. Does not get to make the lap time by just by a second, I think it was, before he got to the line. So no lap for Mr. Magnan. Going to start in 23rd. But that's going to bring the end of the Martin Sports pre-race show. And now it's time to get these cars lined up on the grid tonight, so we can give you guys the rundown of the iRacing iFlag starting running order. Nicholas Moreau, going to start this thing off P1. Wayne Grossi is going to be in second place to his outside. Third place, Lane Allen. Fourth place, Paul Bergoli. Fifth place, Chris Beck. Sixth place, Brody Hanna. Seventh place will be David Courier. Eighth place, Stephen Lou Allen. Ninth place, Alex Murphy. And starting in 10th, Ryan Chapman.
And rolling off in 11th is going to be Jonathan Vachon. 12th is Martin Garreau. 13th is going to be Tony Sawari. Rolling off in 14th, is going to be Josh Mayu. 15th is going to be Chris Curtis. Rolling off in 16th, and the outside is Justin Diltz. Rolling off in 17th is going to be Chad Wayne. 18th is going to be Joshua Johnson. And going off in 19th is Fred Moreau. And 20th is going to be your playoff points leader right now, Richie Coy.
Yeah, he did not make a qualifying time. Maybe doesn't feel comfortable doing so, joining in late. But James Wallace going to resume in 21st. Ryan Hedrick, 22nd. Simon Magnan going to find him in 23rd. Brian Dublé, 24th. Matthew Vachon, 25th. Brandon Elder, 26th. Ryan Bliss, 27th. And Alan Crowell, once again, going to round out tonight's 27-car field, pending Brandon does make entry or not. And that'll be Alan Crowell at the tail end of the field. And with these lap times, they're so close to each other. 0.2 of a second separate the top 15. I know we usually see that kind of scenario, but with Homestead, with the multiple grooves definitely in effect tonight, I would expect some really good groups of cars out here trying to get what they can.
Yeah, I would think so. And one of the things, Jeremy, I'm still keeping an eye on here on pit road is I don't see Richie Coy jumping on to the grid here. I think he's not going to make the start, so that's going to be your playoff points leader right now, not making the start of this race.
Well, that's just huge news now, isn't it? If he does not actually make the start tonight's race, that's going to drop him back probably to 6th place. That's where Lane Allen sits currently at 16 points back of the race, or the points lead. So that'll be a huge implication. It's going to bring James Wallace P1 if so, which I know James Wallace is not going to mind that. He's been on a strong charge as of late, and if he keeps that up on his long runs that he likes to produce, it might be his at the end of the season.
Yeah, and you gotta watch out for Brody too. He's just quietly in there. I mean, every time he seems to race these cars, he does a really good job at it. And we hear a little less hate on his side of these cars, but it's hard to keep it up when you're driving as good as he is. And I mean, he's sitting in 4th in points, 13 points back, and this is going to help him big time. And if I recall, I think earlier in the year, Jeremy, he was the one that ended up winning Phoenix too, so he could be kind of looking ahead to the future already.
Pace cars down, and yeah, he's basically like the Kyle Busch in 2007, gets out after a victory and says, I hate this thing. But that's fine as long as you're winning and producing. That's all that matters. Green flag is out. Nicholas Moreau gets a pretty decent restart there, clears the 7 of Wayne Grossi as they get to turn number 1. Looks like side by side from third on back. This is exactly what Nicholas Moreau wants to do. He likes to charge hard early on, gets that good gap, and as long as the tire wear works for him like it did last week, he's going to be gone.
Yeah, it's I mean, we've been kind of seeing it all season C here. It's been kind of the 15 and the 8 of Nicholas and Paul going back and forth at it, but right between Paul right there you see is the 7 of Wayne Grossi, who's having a great run up in front. It's nice to see him back up there. We know he's been having a little bit of struggle in some of these races, but nice to see him back run up front, and that's going to put Paul moving one spot already, Jeremy. He's up in the 3rd place.
Yeah, I expect him to get to 2nd place eventually. His car has always been dominant. Curious now how he's going to do tonight. He's got the right mindset. He's going for the championship. He knows what he needs. He's looking for Phoenix. That's that spotlight track, what he's been telling us. So Can't wait to see what he produces here. I already see a couple cars like Chris Beck in the 44 shoot to the top of the track and gets a great launch off corner exit, allowing him to get to the outside of Paul Bergoli. Now they're side by side in turn number 1.
It definitely has the speed there in the 44. We saw him coming off a 2 and got really close, and you can see the 14 of Wayne Allen kind of kick out a little bit. Didn't touch, but it was pretty close. But he's definitely got the high side going right now, and he's trying to charge up early.
Yeah, getting that surface all prepped up. You don't want a lot of marbles up there if you want to run up there. So you got to kind of push the lane up a little early to make sure that lane is open for you later in the run, or it will get built up with a bunch of debris. Moving on back a little bit to just outside the top 10 here, Jonathan Vachon trying to work his way up to the front. He's done this before with that Moreau Motorsports machine. We've seen a lot of guys move up to the front whenever they're in Moreau Motorsports vehicles. And the 97, you don't usually see him back too far in the field like this. Expect him to move up as these laps start ticking away.
We see just a couple cars right now side by side as they're coming off the corner, but there's multiple ways you can run this track. You see the guys on the bottom, some in the middle, and then eventually some which was the top side. So what looks like as they're coming off a 4 could be 3 or 4 wide is just them kind of filing in single file there. They're just running different groups. So it's pretty fun to watch these guys come off the corners here as far as where they settle into place.
Yeah, I'm always trying to learn. So watching these guys here is actually going to be a little bit of a playbook changer for me. I'm always struggling on the long run, especially here. And I'm always kind of curious what line is preferred. I know it's all depending on your setup, and this is an open setup, but I always like to see how the tire wear happens on the top side of the track, because how iRacing's surface works is the more speed you carry, the more tire wear that you produce, and typically the inside lane is the strong lane, but being progressively banked like this, kind of like Kansas and Bristol, doesn't seem to matter as much, but for me it matters a lot. So we got a little car, didn't see who that was exactly, but a little bit loose. Looks like the 4 of Chad Lang coming off of turn number 2. So handling issues already starting to present itself, at least for the 4.
Here at Homestead, it can take 20 laps into a run, and you think, okay, this thing should tighten up a little bit. Nope, it's still going to feel loose as it's going through the corner. That's just the way Homestead races sometimes. So, this is an open set, so some of these guys, like you mentioned, are going to have it set up a little bit differently, but that's something with Homestead. You're just kind of fighting that car all night, really.
Yeah, and who knows, right? My setup usually gets one of 2 ways. It's always on the extreme end, really loose or really tight. There's no way I'm 20 laps in going, oh, this thing's feeling pretty comfortable. And you'll probably see that as these laps start to tick away, you'll see a lot more spaced out pack, so to speak, as these guys go through like lap 20 and lap 30. They'll really kind of show who's got the better setup. Right now we got pretty good action around the track. Mr. 23, Brody Hanna's passed Paul Bergoli last lap. It's got to move him up to P4, drop Paul back to 5th place. And also that 14, Elaine Allen, dropped back 3 spots, almost 4 here, as he's now getting almost passed by Ryan Chapman there in the 10.
Yeah, having quite a mix-up here already in the start of the race. We've had some movers in the back. We got one coming down pit road right now. I'll have to look back and see who that is, but it looks like the 26 is going to be making his way down pit road. Not sure if he got into the wall or what, but that's going to be Vachon there coming down. So I'm not sure if he looks like he's making. No, he went a little bit too far there, Jeremy. So not the start that he wanted tonight, but we'll see. We'll have to take a look back and see what happened.
Yeah, it happened really early. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Even lap 1, he was by himself. I thought he started the race, so I'm kind of surprised to see how far he was back, and he's in pit road way too early. So something going on mechanically, I would imagine, on his end to make him park, at least temporarily, on lap number 7. And he does exit the car at this point. So 26, probably count him out early on in this Homestead 250.
See, we got a little pass here. See the 44 there. Chris Beck going under Wayne Grossi in the 7. He's going to take that 2nd spot, Jeremy, as they're heading down the 3. Chris is showing some strong speed right now in the start of this race. Had a good qualifying effort starting in 5th and already moved his way up in top 2. And he's going to see if he's going to get a sight set on Nicholas. He's got probably the fastest car right now, I think, right behind Nicholas. So we'll see if he can make a charge for him early in this race.
This car's running a little bit higher than most as well. Not so much in 1 and 2. It almost seems like 3 and 4 is the better high side for a lot of these drivers, real world or sim world. We're seeing it currently at the moment. That 44 is definitely dialed in, at least for the short run. As Wayne Grossi's not really done yet trying to make a good charge at the bottom. Could not do it this time around, but he had such a great launch off of turn number 2, running a little bit lower than that 44. So, watch out for that 7 as well.
You can see the battle we got going on there too, back in the pack there. We got about 6 cars here. You can see on NERDtv where about 7 or 8 actually, side-by-side racing. You don't normally see them this racy, at least 12, like you said, you start seeing them spread out, but these packs are still holding together early in the run and kind of swapping spots all over, whether on the high side or getting that run on the low. So Joshua Johnson, though, in that 57, he's making his way up through the pack. And like you mentioned, he's having a good little playoff here as well as his teammate James Wallace. So they got something teamwork going on.
You're looking off the back bumper of Johnson for sure, and you can see as they go into the corner how big that pack is behind him. Pretty impressed. I knew we'd see a couple packs, maybe 4 or 5 cars, but these cars this pack's about 8 cars, 9 cars deep, even 10. Let me see as Dustin kind of raises the camera for us to get an overall perspective. Drone shot, if you will, on the top of the 57. We see a little bit of 3-wide action as they're going down the backstretch as well. That was the 31, the 12, and the 11. Number 12, Josh Mayu, does back out of that. That allows the 31 to run to the bottom, clears the 11, and now those guys are single file. But the 12 took the worst of that, Kenny. He backs up 3 spots down the front stretch.
Yeah, they're going around him in a hurry, too, and it looks like he's going to lose a couple more before it's all said and done. So not the spot that he wants to be watching all those guys go on the high side. But luckily it's early, and he's got plenty of time to make that up. But as we see Chris Curtis here making a pass there on the inside, setting his sights on the 37 right in front of him, Brian Dubois. See if he can go ahead and go around him. That's going to put him inside that top 20 here, Jeremy, as they're coming around now. He's going to be in that 20th position. So we're on board with him right now. Right in front of him, though, as we mentioned, Brian Dubois, he's one of your playoff contenders. He's coming 8th in here, 34 points back of Richie Coy. We know Richie Coy didn't start, but they're pretty tight in the front there. So even at that 24-point difference, this is kind of one of those where you need to finish top 5 or possibly even a must-win situation for him. So maybe work on that car a little bit and get it closer to the field towards the end of this race.
Quick notable mention, the 11, Tony Solari, got really slow in 1 and 2, came through 3 and 4, and found himself in pit road on lap 15. This is definitely an unscheduled pit stop. I'm not sure if he just felt really bad with the setup or whatnot, as he's getting his tires changed at the moment. We'll have to see how this plays out for him, as he's currently sitting there after the tires have been changed. That can't be good there for that machine.
Yeah, and as I see that, Stephen Allen's on there as well, Jeremy, and he had a good qualifying effort. He started in 8th, and he's also sitting on pit road, 4 laps down as we speak. So also some issues with him, as well as Justin Diltz in that 91. He's 4 laps down. So early troubles for a lot of these guys.
And nobody has damage, which is the really odd thing. These are simulated cars. You don't just have those random mechanical failures on the track while you're driving. So no damage, and that has me wondering what is exactly was going on there to bring down 4 people this early of the race, when they had such high hopes. A couple of those guys are running inside the top 10 too, so you just hate to see that.
Yeah, they were completely clean, like you said. So, and I went back to look through, but of course, some of this camera feeds just kind of cut out, so we didn't catch what happened with the 24, at least on my end, and Stephen Allen. So unfortunate for those guys, but that's part of racing sometimes. We see Brody Hanna here going on the inside of the 44, Chris Beck. That's going to put him inside the top 3, Jeremy. Brody Hanna's making his way up through the field now, too. So we were mentioning he's one to keep an eye on. He's that dark horse that kind of just sits there nice and quietly, and then next thing you know, here he is in that podium spot. So he's starting it early this time.
Yeah, Brody Hanna definitely looks like he has a grip early on in this event. Speaking of grip, Martin Sports, the official partner apparel for the Nerditudes, small company with a big-time product, home of the gloves of sim racing. Martin Sports makes the most breathable and durable gloves in the sim racing world that they've ever seen, also specializing in fully customized sublimation printing on everything from team uniforms to shirts and hoodies, allowing for 0 restriction on color, which allows for the most absolute fastest turnaround in the business. Check out their full apparel merchandise line at martinsports.gg. Make sure to use that promo code SUPERNERD. It's going to save you a whopping 25% off anything that you purchase from martinsports.gg. Still a pretty impressive pack here going down the front stretch right now. Leaders have kind of checked out, so this is definitely the race to watch at the moment, As I'm really glad to see it. I thought there'd be a little more spacing at 20 laps in, but right now, ooh, you can see Ryan Chapman there just on the back half of your screen get really loose once again off turn 1 and 2. So a couple guys now with some handling issues 20 laps in.
I'm right there with you. I'm really surprised too that there's not more spacing going on. Normally with this Homestead track, you start seeing them spread out pretty quickly as far as at least being half a track, but most of this whole active drivers of the top 22 are sitting on the front stretch, Jeremy, as soon as they come off. They're entering 1 as they're coming off of 4. So not a bad thing, because we're having a lot of good racing here. We see some side-by-side racing there as the 4 Chad Lane's going to go make that pass there on the inside. That's going to put him right in front of Ryan Chapman in that 10, but Ryan's not giving up. You see him. He's coming right back for Chad. We'll see what they do here. It's going to enter high, so Chad probably be able to complete this pass, but 10 of Ryan's still not giving up, though. He is falling back, though. Sorry.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit of a handling issue in that car. I think he's trying to figure out what the best route is to get the tires really cooled off and maybe make a late race run. Being only 22 laps in, you don't want to kill the tires off this early into a run. So it almost looks like he's a little tight in some corners, and then the other corner he's kind of loose, as we saw in turn 1 last lap around. A little wiggle. You see it there in the wheel off of turn number 2. So he's definitely probably focusing a lot on that steering and not so much on the overall speed of the car. Allows the 67 there. James Wallace to go around, and now David Courier in their 0-3. He's making a look to the inside as well.
James Wallace he's trying to put himself inside the top 10 here for the first time tonight. He's going to be up 11 spots, Jeremy. Started the race in 21st. Now sitting in 10. Oh, we see, Nicholas Moreau, Jeremy, coming off of turn 2. Gets a little loose, hits the wall. Had a little bit of damage, at least on my side. It looks like it fixed itself, but he did have some wall damage as he was coming off of 2 there, trying to correct it and just kind of slap the wall a little bit.
Yeah, the damage was there, and then the damage wasn't. We could thank iRacing Coating for that, I suppose. I've seen that quite a few times where it looks like they have damage, and then it kind of visually goes away. I'm sure he notices it, because that right front fender has to be pushed in a little bit. That's going to cause some aero deficiency there. He's only a 1-second lead over second-place Wayne Grossi. And this might be what the edge that the 7 and the 23 need to get to the back bumper of the 15. But right now the 15 also experiencing some loose handling issues 24 laps in.
It's definitely not what you want to see there, running a second ahead of these guys and have something like that happen. But it doesn't look like he's lost too much speed as far as, he's actually gained a little bit on that lap there over the 7 car of Wayne Grossi. So even by hitting the wall, didn't lose too much speed. So got lucky on that one, but he's still fighting. You see him right there, Jeremy. He's still fighting that car coming off of 2.
Yeah, I think that problem's only going to get worse and worse every time you kick the right rear out like that. You just heat that tire up more and more. With these low-profile tires, that heat builds up quick. So he needs to kind of back that thing down and cool off the tires before making a little bit harder push that will bring in Wayne Grossi and Brody Hanna as they gain now a 10th on the race leader. What you're seeing right now on your screen, the 7 and 23, still duking it out pretty good. Only a couple tenths of a second separate these two guys as they head off at turn number 2, trying to get to that 15.
We're starting to see these guys spread out just a little bit more, Jeremy. Having more single file. We got a couple here and there that'll be side by side if they're trying to attempt to make a pass or anything like that. But for the most part, they're all single filed out right now and just working on their car as far as feeling how it's handling, seeing how they want to work as this race comes down. And we don't normally see, one at Full Throttle Sim Racing, the yellows are far and few between. But even at Homestead, you really don't see any cautions. I think you saw 0 during the truck race and just a couple during the Xfinity. So I wouldn't be surprised, Jeremy, if this thing goes green. So we're going to be seeing some green flag pit stops and different strategies playing out.
Yeah, the only thing I can maybe expect a caution for is the handling, as all these guys starting to get loose and loose as the laps keep going down, as we're now on lap 28 of scheduled 167. Handling is the only thing. These guys are running really clean when they get next to each other. They're giving themselves plenty of room. So I think the racing alone is going to be fine, but the question mark is who's got the best handling car as they get to lap 40 and lap 50.
As we speak of right there, 67 coming off the corner there, coming off of 2. James Wallace getting a little bit sideways, was able to hold on to it and kind of keep his speed, but he definitely lost a little bit as you see the 0-3 there. David Courier trying to run him down as the end of the corner, but he still gets a great run there. James does coming off the corner. He's going to suck right up to the back bumper there of Chad Lane as they're heading down the front stretch.
This is where James Wallace, this is his time usually where he likes to shine here, as you've seen on his car on board. David Courier looking directly at the back bumper of James Wallace. He's looking to the inside once again of the 4. Going to try to get a good run off the corner. A little wiggle from that 67 allows Chad Langen, the F Cancer machine here. He's trying to hold on here to keep his 9th place, but it looks like Wallace is able to get a good drive into turn 3. Able to clear the front bumper of the 4. Oh, no, never mind. Really loose once again. Gives that spot up to the 4 and also to David Courier. He's going to give up about 6 or 7 tenths of a second there. As now the 50 of Mark Guerrero is chasing his rear end.
Yeah, you saw he's been fighting it loose. We've been seeing the last couple of laps, and he went from being the top running gainer of the race. He's up 10 spots, but if you look ahead, Jeremy, now sitting in top 5 is going to be that 5 of Fred Moreau. He started 19th, and he's now running in 5th, so he's going to be your top mover of 14 spots so far in the race, and he's moving up quick. He's got a sight set on Paul next for that 4th place, just a couple cars in front of him here.
Quick mention of Ryan Chapman in the 10 Toyota. He got loose off of turn 2 on lap 26, nosed it into the inside fence, and has parked it and backed out of the server. Ryan Chapman probably going to be officially positioned around 25th, maybe 24th as these guys cycle through. That's a hard break there for that 10 machine. He had high hopes tonight, try to get himself into a good position tonight.
We see the 5 car here on NERDtv just hanging that back end out off of 2 and off of 4 that last lap. He was kicking that thing sideways, so that car is fighting as you see him pushing up there that high side, and he's going to actually possibly lose a spot here. We'll see if he goes right in front of him. Yeah, he's going to lose a spot there to the 97 of Jonathan Vachon, so that's going to put him back in the 6th place as they're coming around this time by.
Yeah, making some moves here at 97. I knew he wouldn't be in the back too long. I mentioned it about 15, 20 laps ago. It's weird to see him back there in 11th, but he has found his way through half the field here, essentially. Found himself in the top 5, up 6 spots from his starting position. Speaking of hard chargers, so to speak, James Wallace and Simon Magden currently hold that title. James Wallace up 10 positions from the start of the race, and up 9 positions is the guy right behind him, Mr. Simon Magden, in the 46. So a couple of these guys making their way through the field on this long run. No surprise on that 67, Ken.
No, not, and we saw him get a little loose there coming off of 4, and he's still, putting down some good laps. But another one, though, that I've been keeping my eye on, Jeremy, is Paul Baroli. He's running 2 tenths faster than your leaders. He's gaining some ground. He was over 4, almost 5 seconds back, and he's moved up to about 3.5 seconds back. So he's been running about 34.7 these last couple of laps. Then your leader's running 34.9. So he's gaining ground. Maybe save some tire there.
As these guys have started to space out a little bit, we're probably about 15 laps or so away from our first green flag pit stop. So we're going to go to picture-in-picture mode, head to our first commercial break. We'll be right back after a few short messages.
This car is the worst vibration that I've ever had, and the shifter is broken again.
Welcome back to full screen coverage here. Currently on lap now 41 of scheduled 167. Imagining that pit stops are going to happen relatively soon. Nicholas Murrow out here, first place, running 1.5 seconds ahead of second place Brody Hanna. Brody Hanna's been coming on strong here. 4 positions gained since the drop of the green flag. His car's been running pretty stout overall. Third place, we have Paul Bergoli. He's moved up a couple spots here as of recent. Running just under 3 seconds outside of Nicholas Murrow's current lead. Fourth place, Wayne Grossi. Fifth place is going to be Jonathan Vachon, who's still making his way through the field. Kind of a little stagnant right now after getting inside the top 5. Fred Moreau, of course, 19th to 6th. That does not surprise me, the hard charger right now. 7th place, David Courier started 7th, running 7th, so running a pretty solid race overall. 8th place, Chris Beck dropped 3 spots since the start of the race. 9th place, you're going to find Lane Allen. He's lost 6 spots since the start of the race as he's trying to limp this thing around until he gets to his green flag pit stop. And then 10th place, Mr. Chad Lang. And that's going to round out your Mach-1 Performance Top 10 recap, which, Kenny, I think I heard on the driver's radio that there could be some pit stops happening here in the next lap or two.
They're on right now. We got the team of them, 67, 57, 37. All of them came down, made pit stops. Looks like they're all pretty good, clean, no issues there. And I think I also saw one more come down. I have to look back and see, but I believe it was the 34 car as well, 54 of Alan Correll. He also came down as well. So that's 4 of them.
4 cars down early on lap 41. That's going to start the green flag pit stop trend, which that leads me to believe kind of that will we mate? I don't know. We'll probably only see 3 to 4 pit stops in at that point. You have lap 40, lap 80, lap 120, and that might do it for some. But if you pit a little early, you might have to take that 4th pit stop. Let's see how that plays out as these guys go through their green flag cycles.
Yeah, we'll see how much ground they can gain as far as speed over the guys doing that early pit stop. And they might have timed it, as far as getting there. I think they came down on lap 42, 41, 42. So if they come down with that same exact strategy, Jeremy, that should put them at about 166, 167. So, but this is a good time to do it. You might as well do the early pit strategy now and see how it pays off as far as trying to do it on the last call of the night. So they'll see where it is and then they'll adjust from there.
Yeah, if they're not like me, they actually practice this scenario and this strategy out before joining tonight's event. So they probably have a good idea of what to expect on this 41-lap run cycle each and every time they make it happen. I'm sure they got the data to back it up. I think the 23 might be calling down pit road this time by, not too sure. I thought I heard it.
Yeah, he came on, but I think it was because he kind of got a little loose there off of 4, so I think he might have just hot mic there.
Yeah, I always keep the chat just enough to hear a voice, but I missed that cue, and that's probably correct there, as we're currently on lap 46. So looks like a couple of these guys are going to make a really long run out at 50. Martin Guerrero coming down pit road. Had to stall 3, 2, 1. A little bit of an extra break there. Cost him maybe a tenth. Get into a stall. At least it didn't overshoot it. That's a good clean entrance nonetheless. As now it's the 5th driver currently on pit road.
You can just see the speed difference at the 67 going, James Wallace going around the 44, Chris Beck there on the front stretch. Those fresh tires, just as you can see right there on NERDtv, just pulling away from them, able to put down some fast laps there. So those fast tires are definitely taking over. If we can get on with the 57 here, Joshua Johnson, we'll be able to see him kind of make his way back through those guys as well. We see how far ahead of them they are, but they're heading in the 3 and 4 right now. But I imagine he'll be there in just a couple laps with these fresher tires.
Yeah, since we're on board with Joshua Johnson, we'll go through the last 3 laps before his green flag pit stop. He ran a 35.6, 35.5, 35.8, so about mid-35s. Comes off a pit road. His first 3 laps out, 33.6, 33.7, 33.4. So 2 seconds a lap difference between the guys who have not pitted and the guys who have pitted. Huge difference of time. 2 seconds a lap at a 1.5 mile track. That's a lot of ground to make up there if you're staying out, 5 or 10 laps. That's like what, 10 seconds plus?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at it. He's just making it. It looks like this is just like back when we used to play NASCAR Thunder and you had it on easy mode. Just the way he's blowing by these people right now. Just the difference it makes getting those fresh set of tires. So, except for when you got this right here and you got 2 people battling side by side and you got to kind of take it easy here and hold up and find a gap to go through, but. When you got those fast tires, it's just a matter of time, and yeah, we see he'll go right by him right here. So, so far working good though, Jeremy. Like I said, picked up a whole 2 seconds. So
he really wanted to try 3 wide there in turn 1, but he thought better of it and said, "Nah, there's no point in squeezing that gap." And the field cleared themselves out right there through the backstretch, able to clear into 3 and 4, no problem. I know he's gonna go back onto his really fast pace here with those fresh set of Goodyear tires. He's getting around now the 44 of Chris Beck. Makes it look like he's just sitting still on a casual Sunday drive. Temporarily, when everyone does make their pit stops, expect that 57 to probably cycle through, in the top 3.
Yeah, I think we're going to see probably the whole team right there that came down. You're going to see 67 James Wallace, 57 Joshua Johnson, and 37 Brian Dubois. All 3 of those are kind of going through the field right now with those tires. We'll probably see them running 1, 2, 3 when everyone else starts coming down, and then of course it'll play a factor once they go about 40 laps on those set of tires. So but I like that. This is what Homestead's about though. You have these different strategies and the way that the tires kind of wear here. So this happens a lot, and then you'll get your fast guys, as we saw with like Noah, for instance, on Saturday night. It's just kind of have those cars out of the class of the field. But this is what's nice about Homestead, Jeremy. It kind of mixes it up a little bit.
If you're like Noah too, you're gonna get out of the car and you're gonna throw up on the dashboard, completely worn out because of how much you have to drive this car around this track, even though it's a 1.5 miles. Just all the transition, banking changes, and just how you have to run up against the wall sometimes. A lot of side by side action potentially. This track is it could definitely wear you out for sure.
Yeah. I think that might be, other than climbing on the fence, that might be his new norm too after a race. I think that's like his 3rd or 4th time this season. But hey, when you're winning as much as him, it's okay, I guess.
Sucks for the cleanup crew, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'd tell if I was the guys at the shop, I'd be like, yeah, you got that part.
Yeah, you got me a good car, but you also have to wax not the body, but also the dashboard. And it probably doesn't smell as good either, but you see right now the 67 and the 23 on your screen there, side by side. 67 clears the 23. No problem. That's because, well, he's got fresher tires, and you're seeing how much faster he is. Just goes right around the 8 like he's sitting still. And that 8 and the 23, that's for position. That's for 2nd place right now. You see they kind of wiggle a little bit on the exit of 4. Brody's just only a couple tenths now outside of Paul Bergoli. Let's see if Brody Hanna can find himself in P2.
He was sitting inside that P2 spot, and Paul was able to get around him, and I think Brody wants to try and get it back. And we've seen he got a little loose off of 4 probably about 5 or 7 laps ago. As I think we might hear the 15 might be coming down pit road as well, Jeremy. But he was getting a little loose there, coming off the corner, so that might have lost a little bit of ground and let Paul get around him. But he's still not giving up. He's still sitting right behind Paul in that third spot, trying to get back as close as he can.
Nicholas Moreau just let the 67 James Wallace around with a much fresher set of tires, obviously, as he's now got one of his laps back. Actually, that is his lap back. So up to 16 cars back on the lead lap. Seeing these guys stay up for lap 55, maybe lap 60, it's kind of saying, hey, they're going to do a two-stop strategy. So we're seeing the one team with a three-stop strategy on lap 40, and then I think everybody else, for the most part, minus a couple other people, like Crowell, we might see only a two-stop strategy.
Yeah, it's gonna get interesting here, which will be nice. So we'll see what plays out. I mean, we still have James running 33.9, so he's still in the 33s after he's been on this new set of tires now. They came down on lap 42, as we mentioned, so just over 10 laps on these tires, Jeremy, and he ran pretty much identical laps. So we got the 4 car spun around here on pit road.
Coming down pit road, Mr. Chad Lang, he's running pretty all right, just in around the top 10. Try to get down to pit road. Hit the apron transition a little weird, and then his car, for whatever reason, just could not get straightened out before getting woed. And then he nosed the inside wall just a little bit. Not damage to worry about, but it's the amount of time that he lost, really. He's going to lose several spots for sure. See the 97 also, Vashon Jonathan coming down pit road, making his green flag pit stop. And a couple others like Brian Bliss, he's on pit road. So lap 57, pit road's getting a little busier again.
Bunch of different strategy, and I think that's the worst, as far as him coming down and losing it sideways. He's definitely going to lose some time there. As we see, the Chris Curtis is also coming down pit road right now as well. He's going to be making his first stop here on lap 57.
Yep, to his box right now. We're seeing 5. Fred Moreau also coming down pit road. Second of the Moreau Motorsports heading down. The only Ford on that team. And this guy is always impressive. He doesn't run a full schedule, but when he shows up, he always starts in the back, always finishes in the front, unless there's something pending that happens on the track. So this guy is already up 11 spots since the start of this race, 58 laps ago. And he's going to continue to move on forward as he makes his way around this track through 167 laps.
So overshot the pit box just a touch, but just had to back it up pretty quick with that. We see the 15 right now, Nicholas Moreau on pit road as well. So he's going to give up that lead to the 8 of Paul Bergoli. He's going to take over the lead now as he's still yet to make his pit stop, and that's going to put Brody Hanna in that second spot with Wayne Grossi round out the top 3.
These guys continue to go through a little bit more. Love to see who else makes their pit stop. No, actually, as soon as I say that, the 8, Paul Bergoli coming down pit road. You see the 47 also headed down to the service of his crew as well. A little bit of a 3-wide clog situation there between the 8 and the 23 and one of the lappers. They were able to sort it through quick, but I don't think it costed them much, if not any time. But that's 2 of the top 3 coming down pit road. I would imagine Brody Hanna is going to be right there here shortly.
Yeah, it was pretty close there between Brody and Paul. Paul was trying to get it woed up there as he was coming down pit road, and Brody had to get out of it and almost had a collision there between 1 and 2. So good avoidance there by Brody, who's just falling on with Paul, and that could have been bad there for those top 2. But they're still moving on as we see Brody still running around collecting some lap sweat here. So put him in first place with Wayne right behind him.
This is what we call playoff racing, where he doesn't need necessarily to win every race, but if he can collect points here and there and do what he can, he will be there, especially with his teammate Richie Coy not present this evening. And of course, it's going to move everybody up within just a few points of each other. So Brody definitely needed those laps led to get himself that extra point for his 2022 overall championship hopes. And there he goes, 23. Brody handed down to pit road, down to speed, really clean pit entrance there for that 23. As long as he gets his pit stop clean, we'll still have to see where he turns out. Being only 2 laps after the 8, so that should cause a huge separation momentarily. But that means the 23 is going to have fresher tires, Ken.
Yeah, Wayne Grossi as well. He's coming down pit road, Jeremy. So both those are going to funnel down. That's going to put, I think, Josh May is going to take the lead point on these guys. There's still a couple to come around and take pits. But I think after all this, Jeremy, we see the 2 teammates, James Wallace and Joshua Johnson. I think they're going to be your leaders here once the 12 of Josh Mayhew comes down.
Yeah, he's one of the last drivers to come down pit road. As you guys continue to do so, I'll give a shout out to Roasted Gems Coffee, official energy partner for the Nerditudes. Their coffee offers premium quality, ethically produced coffee gems from different parts of the world, coupled with delicious blends and flavors that'll make your taste buds melt with delight. Roasted Gems Coffee is the only place to quench your caffeinated coffee desires. They value your coffee experience with each order roasted to perfection and ordered and shipped straight to your door for peak flavor. Whether if you want a mellow flavor with just a hint of caffeine to get your day started, or whether if you want coffee so strong, show up on a drug test. Roasted Gems Coffee has you covered, and you're going to use Super Nerds at checkout, 10% off for any cup of coffee flavor, anything really, that you purchase at roastedgems.com. And speaking of them, I'm actually drinking their mocha one, or have been drinking for the past hour, and let me tell you, blend that thing with it's a cold brew that I did. I did that with mocha creamer as well. The thing is, it's a coffee chocolate drink, and it's amazing. Seeing the 12 Josh Mayhew coming down, or was coming down there. He's got everything serviced on that car. James Wallace resumes as your race leader. Really curious to see where this 67 Ken is going to turn up after he makes his pit stop. Or his next pit stop, rather. Right now he's got a 7.5 second lead over Moreau. We know that gap's going to close quick. But what's it going to be? Is it going to be the 4-stop or the 3-stop strategy? Or is it going to be the 2?
I think they're probably going to go with the 3-stop, I would imagine. And yeah, he's already lost about a second that lap to Nicholas on those fresh tires. So, had an 8.5 on that last one, and yeah, already down to about 7.5. So we'll see how quick Nicholas Moreau can come around, but we'll see how that strategy pays off. I mean, if they can stretch this thing out, I'm imagining they'll be coming down here in the next 18 laps or so. So we'll see how much they can kind of gain in those next 18 laps. I mean, he almost lost another 1.5 seconds there than Nicholas Moreau. So just those tires difference, kind of how we saw how they were coming through the field. We're seeing the opposite now. So Nicholas Moreau's kind of making his way up through, trying to get back to him. But we'll see where this plays out. But I expect around 84, Jeremy, we'll see those 3 teammates come back down pit road.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep my eye out. The 67 was around 10th or 11th place, I do believe, whenever the leaders came down pit road, that being Nicholas Moreau. So, of course, he's up 11 spots. Now the turnaround period is how far is he going to fall back? Is he going to fall back 5 spots? Is he going to fall back 15 spots? This is what I'm kind of curious of, where the 3-stop or 2-stop strategy is going to be the preferred way to go. You're on board right now, or at least you were looking at the 8-car Paul Bergoli, who, remember, he came down a lap or 2 later than Moreau there, and he's got a 3-second difference now separating that 15 machine in the 8, which these guys have been hashing out all 2022 season long. 14 points separated them coming into this race. Moreau, second place. Paul Bergoli, your points leader. And right now, Paul is really wanting to get up there because he does not want to lose any more points to Moreau, as they're so close in these final 3 races.
Yeah, a couple of different battles going on with your season C points and then your overall playoff points. So definitely want to see where it kind of plays out. And I think he lost a couple last week, but he's got a little lead, not much of one, but he's got enough to where he can maybe give up a point here or there. But 14 points, Sherman, all it takes with the field seeing almost 30 cars a night, one mistake, and that points lead can just go away. So he wants to kind of keep it as close as he can if he can't extend it. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely don't want to do that. We already seen a couple people, or at least Brian Chapman for sure, get loose off of turn number 2. It was a very subtle looseness, but you're unable to chase these things with these tires having very little forgiveness, just being the low-profile nature of the tire. He chased all the way to the inside wall and had to retire from the event. So one little mistake will definitely put you out. You're looking on right now at the 57, Mr. Joshua Johnson, currently falling back a little bit as he's fallen to the clutches of the 50 of Martin Garreau. That's going to move him back to P7 as the 50 goes to the inside through turn number 1, and presumably he's going to take this position.
We're actually going to see his teammate here, 67 of James Wallace. He might be losing the lead here to Nicholas Moreau. He's actually caught him, Jeremy. Only took him about 10 laps on those fresher tires, but here he goes on the inside. Nicholas Moreau is going to be taking the lead back over from the 67, James Wallace. Now, you kind of mentioned earlier he was running in 10th spot when they came down to make the pit stop. Well, when he came down to do the short pit, he was running in 10th place. So he gained all that ground back and, from making the pit stop. So we'll kind of see where this plays out before they come down. Again, I'm thinking around another 13 laps or so, and we'll see where the kicks him back. Because 10th place right now from him is about 14 seconds back, Jeremy. So the strategy could be playing off pretty good as far as doing the short pits, as far as over the rest of the field.
Yeah, the thing is you have to run 50 laps. I think it's going to work out too, but I'm still curious to know exactly. Plus, he has to make one more pit stop if he does run it out the whole way on this 3-stop strategy. A whole nother pit stop. I mean, even if you gain 5 seconds, each time you cycle through, you're still going to lose over a lap's worth of distance going through pit road and getting your service done to your car. So maybe there's a way you can extend that fuel run out if he realizes, hey, this strategy is probably not going to work in my favor. Got to rethink things how it's going to perform. But like I said, I'm gonna keep my eye out on that, see exactly how that works, because I'm always trying to build my playbook, and these guys definitely do that for me. I see the 8 Paul Bergoli, we're on board with him too, going around the 67 on the inside to make that pass happen, put him back in P2.
And James knows he's definitely got the older tires, so he's not even putting up a fight, just letting these guys go on the inside and kind of riding that upper groove. I think we got the 97 here of Vachon. That's going to be the next one that's coming up on the back of the 67. So James knows how it is. Those guys were letting him go when he had the faster tires, and then now he's doing the same thing. And then it's kind of going to be that cycle when they're making that three pit strategy. That's kind of how it's going to be for the night for these guys. So I see Brody Hanna as well going by on the inside, so that's going to put Brody into that 4th spot and Jonathan into the 3rd and bump James Wallace back to 5th.
Jonathan to 3rd place, falling back to 4th right now to Brody Hanna, but he was out in 5th, and all of a sudden he found himself in 3rd. Now he's going to be in 4th place for a little bit here as the next guy back, Fred Moreau, 9 seconds behind the 97 now. So currently gained 1 spot. That's Jonathan Vachon. Now it's to the really, get down and grind type situation for this 97 to get inside the top 3, because right now the top 3 are kind of really showing who's going to be there as long as there's no incidents, as long as there's no cautions or anyone has any faults. The top 3 have really just said, hey, this is us right here, and some excellent speed inside the top 3.
Yeah, and even those top 3, you still got just outside, like you mentioned, Vachon and Moreau. They've been running up there, and at one point in time, they were running top 3 as well. So those have definitely been kind of your average, consistent top 5 as far as speed goes. And even Chris Beck, Jeremy, he had a good qualifying effort, started the race in 5th, and he's still running 7th inside the top 10. So he's having a heck of a night as well in that 44 Ford. So good night running for that group of guys over there.
Yeah, excellent performance here at Homestead for Chris Beck's team. And that same paint scheme, you've seen him every single Monday of the U.S. Air Force scan. Definitely doing some awesome work in that machine right now, keeping himself inside the top 10 all race long for the first 76 laps. Absolutely no issues from that car. Handling has been on point and just running really steady with. That's what you need for some of these races. You don't need to have the fastest car. You just need a really steady car to get yourself to the finish, and this is exactly what you're seeing from the 44.
Yeah, just consistency and making these laps nice and clean, not making any mistakes, not trying to wear the tires down, and that's what he's been doing tonight. So good run by him. And then sitting right behind him too, Jeremy, Martin Garreau, sitting in 9th place. He started in 12th, so he's gained a little bit of ground as well. 3 spots that he's made up through the night. And sitting right behind him is the 57 of Joshua Johnson. We saw him come down with his teammate in the 67 of James Wallace, and he's still sitting in 10th. So that strategy worked out as well for him. I think he's got 4 seconds ahead of the spot behind him. So that strategy's playing pretty good for these guys right now, it seems like. But we still got some time left, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, if he is going to pit like he pitted on the first set, he's got about 4 laps or so in that 67 to come down for the second pit stop, as well as the 57, which you see on your screen now, Mr. Joshua Johnson. So we'll keep an eye on that in the next 4 or 5 laps to see if they do decide to stick with the 3-stop strategy, or do they try to outrun it and go back to the 2-stop like most of the other fields currently doing. It's always a risk versus reward. Sometimes, not me. I never awarded that one, but some of these other guys, they know how to do it well. And usually, it's a good chance that it pays off for them, but it's just so dependent on how well the leaders run. Leaders are just running so fast right now. You're not going to get the race lead, but if you can advance your position even by a couple, I think it's still a victory.
Yeah, it's definitely still winning the book there if you can gain, even if it's only one spot. That's still gaining on it, and I'm on board right now. I've been kind of following around along with James Wallace, so when I see him duck down, I'm thinking on lap 84 I'll let you know. But yeah, good strategies with all these guys, but it's just the speed, like you mentioned. You got Nicholas Moreau still running up in the front of this field right now. He's almost got a 3-second lead over Paul Bergoli, but we saw Paul, Jeremy, on that last run there at the end of the green flag run where those tires that just weren't wearing like some of the other guys, and he was 0.2 faster than them, so he's running them down. We might see that same thing happen here with Nicholas, and he's closer than he was before. He was about 5 seconds back when he started really kicking in, and now he's only 2.5, so that might be the distance that he needs to reel them in right before they come down for the next set of pit stops.
And you're seeing the big difference just pitting a lap or two further out than the guy in front of you. He temporarily got all the advancement right by getting the fresh tires out early. But if you're on the next 50 laps, just a tenth or 0.2 faster, you kind of reel him back in, and you're seeing it gains another 0.2 that lap. Paul Bergoli just 2.5 out now from Nicholas Moreau, who, like I said earlier, is really trying to just keep him in the mirror, not so much off the nose, because he's got that 14-point lead he's trying to secure for the 2022 C Championship. So Paul, coming in as a rookie into this series this season, really wants to make the most of it, but you got to get around that 15.
Yeah, that's once you get there too, you're gonna have to find a way to get around him as well. So, just gonna be a good battle between these guys. We see him running 1-2 no matter what. So we'll see what happens here. Still, Jeremy, as these guys are getting more spread out throughout this race, and with these laps tearing down, I think we're got 15 right now on the lead lap, and then we're sitting there with 5 guys 1 lap down, and we got one that's 2 laps down, that being Brian Bliss. So 21 cars actively on the track right now. Everyone else from there on out has been out of the race due some form or fashion. But we got a little battle right here, Jeremy, between Paul. Paul's got a couple in front of him, a couple behind him there, him and Brody. But what about a group there going on other than everyone else kind of spread out?
37 falls back. He's on a different tire strategies. He's pitted on lap 41, so 43 laps to go. He made his pit stop. These guys, have 20 laps fresher tires almost. So you see why he drops back super quick there. Chris Curtis going around him there in the 98. But I think we're about 10 laps or so from seeing these green flag pit stops happen once again. So we're going to kick it over to another picture-in-picture commercial break. We'll be back after a few brief messages.
No laser grip whatsoever. I'm sideways. Sideways everywhere. Come on, man. Do what you can. The vibration in this car is the worst vibration that I've ever had, and the shifter's broken again.
Welcome back to full screen coverage for the Full Throttle Sim Racing Mach-1 Performance Cup Series. You were just on board with James Wallace making his second pit stop this evening. But we're going to take our eyes to the top 10 here. Nicholas Moreau running P1 at the moment, 2 seconds over second place Paul Bergoli, who's steadily making the charge inch by inch, trying to get there. He came off pit road, I think, 4 or 5 seconds back, and now he's only 2 seconds back of the 15. Going to third place, Brody Hanna running a strong run. Third place for a good chunk of this race after everyone's kind of settled into where they're going to be running, it looks like. Excellent job there by the 23. Fourth place, Jonathan Fashon, still running an excellent race overall in that 97. Doing a pretty good job overall, starting at 11th and just slowly position after position, just worked his way up there with a little bit of strategy. And actually, as I was talking about him, I think he's might have dropped temporarily out of the race from internet. I'm not sure. He dropped back to 7th. I don't see him on the track, so we'll get back to that. Fred Moreau looks like he's going to resume in 4th place there in that 5 machine. Wayne Grossi now is going to get bumped to the 5th place there in that number 7. For Gator Racing, doing an excellent job this season. Remember, he's the new driver for Gator Racing in 2022C, and he has not let down since the start of the season. 6th place, Chris Beck in the 44. Talked about him just right before the break, doing an awesome job in that car, keeping up the good work there in 6th. 7th place, David Courier, who was exactly 7th place last time we did our top 10 rundown, and he has not budged, still running a very consistent race. 8th place, at number 12, Josh Mayu, started 14th, so he's currently up 6 positions since the start of the race, 93 laps ago. 9th place, Simon Magden, 23rd to 9th. That's 14 positions gained for that 46 machine. As he's still, he's one of those drivers that just come on strong as the season progresses and as the year comes along. 46 is doing an awesome job. He's now are still inside the top 10. And then to round out tonight's top 10 at the moment, Alex Murphy in the 31, only down 1 spot, still running very consistent pace. And that's Alex Murphy. And that's tonight's current Mach-1 Performance top 10 recap.
I mean, that top 10 is only top 10 we have on the lead lap as well, because everyone else has found themselves to put a lap down here. And that might be due to cautions or not cautions, but pit stops or just kind of getting run down. So right now we're just having 10 on the lead lap.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the final pit stops coming up soon here for the leaders. I know it's all but a matter of time before they dip down for their final stop as we're getting close to lap 100. I think they can go about 60 laps on a fuel tank based off the calculations I've been seeing from the guys who pitted later in the run. So next 5 or 10 laps, we'll see that cycle through. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we're seeing 11th on back, all 1 lap down or more. Not surprised to see the 3-stop strategy going a lap down. That's naturally expected as things cycle. But all the other guys, it really shows how fast the leaders are going at this point. Even 5th place, 14 seconds back. So Nick, Paul, and Brody have really stepped up their games for tonight's race.
Yeah, they have. Brody and Paul have been kind of within basically 2/10 of each other this whole green flag run here. Brody's been keeping right up with Paul as they've been making their way up through, passing some of these lap cars and making their way through the field. Another thing I want to keep my eye on, because we see Brian Dubois coming up here on the inside of Brody here shortly, and I think it's fresher tires that he has on that one. The 67 there, James Wallace was able to unlap himself, Jeremy, last time before Nicholas and all of them made their pit stops. So that's going to be an indicator kind of to watch and see if he's able to get back to him to get his lap back, or if he doesn't, because that'll kind of show where that strategy played out on that first run compared to like the second time around.
Almost a half a track now separates the 15 and the 67. So if he is going to make that effort, he's got a lot of speed to move or to make his way through what cars are between him and get to the 15. I don't see that happening, but Nicholas Moreau probably going to be pitting in the next 10-5. I don't know. It's somewhere in that ballpark range as they're almost inside that fuel window. So I think the strategy from the 67 is most likely not going to pay off as expected.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a shot there, and probably has about another. Nicholas might have about about 20 laps or so if he's going to run it like the first when he came down there on lap 58, first round of pit stops. So could have possibly just under 20 laps until we see him come back down. And he's still running just cracked into the 35s here, Jeremy, on this green flag round of runs here. So was running 34, just ran his first 35 on this set of tires. So he's still running pretty good laps, considering how many laps he has put down on these tires. With the concern that as well. So you see right here on NERDtv, just that graph, kind of 35s, going back down 34, back 35, back down 34.
And it's exactly what we saw last week too at Vegas. We saw a very similar setup to where on the long run, that car just doesn't lose the grip like most others do. And being this far into the run, very consistently running the same line, running the same times, keeping those tires in check. But before they make this pit stops, though, I'm going to go back once again to Paul Bergoli, who's gained a half a second in the past 3 laps on the 15. He's working his way through turns 1 and 2 now. So this guy, this Mr. Paul here, trying to creep up and extend his points lead a little bit. Don't count him out just yet. Even though Nick's been so consistent, this 8's just been a little bit faster on these long runs.
Yeah, it's been about 2/10 faster than them, and it's not because of traffic holding them up. They've both been getting through these lap cars pretty well. So just the wear on Paul's tires is a lot less than it is on Nicholas here, and we saw that on the first run. So kind of looks like we're going to see the same thing here on the second one.
Another 10th gain that lap from Paul to Nick. So 1.4 separates them two now. Brody Hanna still running a pretty consistent pace, only 2.3 back, which is where he's been essentially for the past 10 laps, 15 laps or so. He's just kind of patiently waiting his time, running the very bottom of the track here through 3 and 4, where a lot of other guys have kind of shifted their way up outside the first groove into the second groove. So something in the Fury Motorsports camp has found grip there on the bottom lane.
We said earlier, that's the way to get around here. It kind of seems to be where the speed is here on the virtual side of things, and maybe a little less grip that you're going to wear off, but still holding even. And like you said, it's with him, it's being consistent too. I mean, we mentioned he's 13 points out with Richie, but with Richie being out, he's technically in a battle there with James Wallace and William Grossi, with Ryan Hedrick right there behind him 1 point, and he's ahead of all those guys right now. Jeremy, the closest one to him is going to be James Wallace in the 12 car. So Brody's just trying. Wayne's going to be right there in 5th place. He'll be the closest one too. But other than that, they're going to be sent back in 12th. So I think you mentioned it earlier. Brody's just here, kind of just get a nice finish and sit in that podium top and possibly try to squeeze the second or first place out of it. But a clean race is what he needs for this playoff points.
Surfer Punkett in the chat saying, "Let's go." Bergoli kind of cleared the crickets out of the chat box at the moment. Has Paul Bergoli's cheerleading squad back in the chats here going for him, and not a bad pick still. Obviously, you know who you're voting for, but Paul now 1.3 back from Nick. So still slowly by slowly, or trying to get back to the back bumper of the 15. And look who's on your screen, the 19 Richie Coy. Only coming in 105 laps down, no problem, but at least he's going to get some type of points by pulling onto the track. And to his point of why is he on the track? Well, there's 5 guys in front of him that are out of the race, and if he runs the rest of the race here, the extra 52 laps, that's 5 positions gained for the 19. So he's still trying to manage what he can on the point system.
Yeah, that's still put him in 22nd. You never know. There could be another car that's going to have some issues that could go out, and he's going to be too far back. So yeah, it's just going to be those 5. But either way, it's still 5 points that you're gonna get back there. So
he just needs to not wreck the car. His speed doesn't matter at this point. He just needs to log the laps, get those 5 positions, and he can pull it back down pit road and call it a night. It still puts him in 21st position if that does be the case. And the guys running up front right now are definitely going to pass him in the points still, but at least heading to the final 2 events in Martinsville and Phoenix, 19 just has a little bit less work to do to get back those points that he lost tonight.
Yeah, he's just going to be nice and smooth and not try getting anybody's way either. So I'm sure he probably had something very important that he had to work to, but it is nice to see him back out here. As we see Paul Bergoli going on the outside here, of the 67 there. James Wallace going on the inside, putting Paul Burgoyne on the outside there. James Wallace with those faster tires there.
Yeah, leaves James Wallace one more car to pass, which is the 15, and then he'll get his lap back the hard way. Let's see if he can do that before Nicholas does make his green flag pit stop, and actually he was a lot closer than what I thought originally. So there he goes, 67 to the inside. Gets his lap back the hard way once again. So maybe the strategy might be working out for the 67, as he does get the same situation as he did last green flag cycle of pit stops. I'll do a quick shout out to one of our partners, iRacing iFlag, over at iRacingIFlag.com. It's the official flag marshaling partner for the Nerditudes. It's a 64 light emitting diode LED system. Gives you all the different notifications that iRacing throws at you. On a really cool system, you can get it one of two ways: on a light strip that you can mount on any monitor or just on your desk, wherever you want. Or they have a desk stand. Either one is 3D printed, and the stand is a 4x6 unit, and it's super bright. It's going to give you all the notifications, like I said, and it's not going to let you lose your focus on the track, because when you see the color on the corner of your eye, you know exactly what's going on. You don't need to look around and say, hey, what's going on, because you know it's there. Looks like the little light system on the catchment, so to speak. So if you're looking to kind of complete your sim rig in a unique way, head yourself over to iRacingIFlag.com and use that Super Nerd checkout code once again. This time it's going to get you 15% off. As we're coming back here, the 15 and the 8 are now going at it. Two different racing lines through 3 and 4. Going to go through 1 and 2 this time, both fighting for the bottom of the track. 8 gets a really good drive to the bottom and somehow can just stick the center a little nicer. He loses a touch off the corner, Ken, but he gains a lot on entry.
Yeah, did gain a lot there, and as you were mentioning too, he has some more on coming on pit road there, the 44 as well. Chris Beck's going to be on pit road, but yeah, good battle here. You see Paul closing the gap there on the 15 and Nicholas Moreau trying to get that lead before they come down. We know Nicholas and them are going to be hearing about the next 10 laps or so. We should be seeing the next set of pit stops on these top leaders. Other than, I think we had some other guys kind of mention, as like I said, the 44 just coming off a pit road now. We'll have some funnel in, but as far as those top guys, Jeremy, I think about 10 laps or so, we should be seeing them come down.
These guys are really extending this run as long as they can, it looks like. I'm going to leave the last part of the race to the shortest stint of the race. The 15, Nicholas Moreau, came down last on lap 59. And that's going to, if he runs that same cycle, it's going to put him close to lap 120. And you just have to run 47 laps after that. So that's exactly what it looks like to me, what they're going to be doing here. They got about 6 or 7 laps before that point even happens. But this is definitely the race for the lead. This is the race on the track. Brody's kind of liking this because he's like, hey, you guys can go side by side. That'll help me get to you guys just a little faster.
Yeah, Brody definitely enjoying watching this because he wants to get up there and kind of get back up with these guys and keep it close, especially after this last round of pit stops for them. I think he'd rather start this one under 2 seconds than over 2 seconds back of these guys. So to keep it close, he'd definitely like to see that. And we got 8 running right now, Jeremy, on the lead lap too, as far as with everything cycling through. Some of these guys coming down pit road, some getting their lap back, like James Wallace was able to get his lap back. He's running in the 6th position right now. 12's coming down right now. He's running in 7th, so he's going to go down as well. So kind of losing a couple here, Jeremy, but it's all, dealing with the pit stops, whatever strategy you might be playing.
Yeah, since he's coming down, I wonder who else might show their face down pit road for the final time under green flag conditions. The 12, you see him coming down now. You see the 98, Chris Curtis, also on pit road, getting his 4 Goodyear tires changed out for some fresh ones, and he is on his way. 8, Paul Bergoli this time going through 1 and 2, a lane higher than the 15. He gave a little bit more up on entry there, and his car does not do well. It looks like on corner exit a little higher up, so he's going to have to kind of shift his lane around a little bit more, which once you get behind the other car, it causes a little bit of a downforce situation where you can't stick the corner as well. And the 8's actually going to make his pit stop right now, realizing that he needs to do this to get around the 15, locks it up, and he gets down to speed at the perfect time. Excellent entrance there by Paul Bergoli. That's going to really excel him to get around this 15 once ever he pits.
Yeah, I would say if I was Nicholas and I saw the 8 of Paul come down pit road, I would be coming down this time by. I mean, we saw it a couple of times this last season, Jeremy, with the Richie and Chuck there. Whoever came down kind of got the early run, was able to pull it off. So if I was Nicholas, I would be coming down this time as well.
Yeah, keep an eye on him going through 3 and 4, and he is exactly doing that. A 15 on his way to pit road, gets down to speed. I think Paul had a better entrance there, maximizing all the usage of the apron to get down to speed. Chris Curtis in the 98, we just see him make a pit stop. He just currently backed out of the session. That's going to be putting him back to like 20th place, I do believe, as everything does cycle through. But now we're looking at 23, Brody Hanna, who's now resumed the race lead.
Yeah, been seeing a lot of packet loss issues tonight. And, yeah, that's part of it with running this virtual world of racing. So hate to see it for those guys. But yeah, we see Brody Hanna here on screen. He's going to take over the race lead with Wayne Grossi right there behind him, sitting 19 seconds behind him there in second place. So, Jeremy, these pit stops have kind of spread these guys out quite a bit. And sitting in third is James Wallace, he's on a little different pit strategy. You know, we thought he was going to come down as far as how his strategy would play out in about another 10 laps, but he switched it up on us. So I'm interested to see when he's going to make his last round of pit stops, because he's going to have to do it and see if he's got enough time to chase these guys back down like he did these last couple of runs, because we know Nicholas and Paul and all those guys, Brody eventually and Wayne, this is going to be their last one. They're going to be after this one. Oh, we hear Brody Hanna on the radio, Jeremy. Had to see what happened there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. I was kind of looking at the 67's lap time, and lap 90 rather, James Wallace last came down pit road, so that was 30 laps ago. I don't think he's going to make it on field mileage, so he does have to come down one more time. So he might be trying to split this run directly in half, which should be somewhat soon. We just had 23 on the radio come up and say, hey, coming down pit road this time as well. So he's going to give up the race lead to Wayne Grossi in the 7 car.
See if Wayne goes around one more time, get a lap wet, and then come down, or if he's going to go around a couple more. We kind of see these guys funneling down one after another. We see Wayne Allen also coming down pit road, Jeremy, right behind Brody Hanna, as we see 2 of them. We'll see a couple more here, but the way they came off, it looks like it's about a 3-second difference there between Paul and Nicholas, Jeremy.
Yeah, I would have to agree there. 7 currently going to take that top spot. James Wallace, once the 7 does pit, going to allow him to at least lead a lap, which I don't think he's led a lap. So that's going to give him an extra point, which in this case, the strategy is playing out wonders for the 67. As soon as that 7 machine does come down pit road, which Wayne Grossi, his last pit stop wasn't until lap 90 as well, or yeah, route 90. So same, actually, no, I lied to you. I was looking at the wrong stat there. His last pit stop all the way back to lap 62, it looks like. So those tires right now are 60 laps old at the moment. So he's got to come down at any point in time. You see the Ford with some style points sliding into that stall perfectly. Didn't overshoot it. Came through at an angle. That was a pretty impressive stop there.
Yeah, that was a nice little slide there and kind of jumped back. Yeah, James Wallace, he's actually led a couple of laps because that's when he had the first set of, after the first pit stop, I think he was about 8 seconds ahead of Nicholas there, and he was able to run him down. But that's going to put him back in the lead here. We see the 7 coming around to make his final pit stop. So once James funnels back through, it might even be the next lap. He'll be the one, but Paul is right behind James as well as Nicholas, Jeremy. So this lead here might be short-lived.
As these guys are finishing up their round of green flag stops, the track temperature dropped 10 degrees since the start of this event. The winds kind of remain the same. Currently 9 mile an hour, 8 mile an hour coming out of the northeast. Air temp, the same exact thing as the start at 79 degrees. You see the live telemetry there from the skies. Pretty standard Homestead-Miami Speedway style weather here. Wouldn't expect much different from this time of year, us especially being in Florida, and you really especially since you were just there 2 nights ago. Basically the same weather that we're experiencing in the real world. Hot, slick track as usual, but as these guys are kind of winding down after the green flag stops, we're going to take our final commercial break on a green flag situation. So we're going to go picture in picture. We'll be back after a few short messages.
vibration in this car is the worst vibration that I've ever had, and the shifter's broken again.
Welcome back to full screen coverage once again to the Full Throttle Sim Racing Mach-1 Performance Cup Series. As we got 7 guys currently on the lead lap here. Paul Bergoli, for once, is leading the way. If you remember, just about 10 laps ago or so, that 8 machine came down a 1 lap sooner than Nicholas Moreau. And that was the difference to get around him, as he had the faster car in the later half of the run. But with the virtue of coming down 1 lap sooner, it gives him that second or two advantage that he needed to pass the 15, because he had a trouble sometime doing so. So now the difference is here, and the question really is, can he hold off the 15?
That 15's made up almost 3 seconds, Jeremy, here since they've done those pit stops, and even though he came only 1 lap later than him, he was able to make up quite a few seconds there. But we know in the later run, Paul definitely has the tires and the speed as the run wears on. So I think Nicholas needs to get around him if he's going to, and he's going to have to hold him off as they get later into the run, because we know Paul's pretty strong there. So,
in third place right now, Brody Hanna had a little bit of a miscue, I suppose, for the pit road. He came down quite a few laps later. He was 2 seconds out. Now he's 9.3 seconds away from the race lead. So kind of with 36 laps to go, I think that's kind of sealed him into third place for sure. Going back to fourth place, the number 5, Fred Moreau, 19th to 4th. That's a pretty impressive stat there. 15 positions gained by that car and team. Excellent drive through the field. 5th place, Chris Beck in the 44, started 5th, currently 5th. Still running really impressive lap times from this machine. Holding it tight, 2 seconds ahead of 6th place, Josh Mayu, and currently 6th place. Who's the last car on the lead lap. First car 1 lap down, rather, is going to be the 03 of David Courier. Once again, every recap, we come to him in 7th place, is where he started. So this man's super consistent, all 132 laps so far. 8th place, Wayne Grossi, who's directly behind him and looking to make this pass here. It's the first time I'm going to see the 03 outside of 7th place as he gets around him. Wayne Grossi now in 7th. Back up to 9th place, James Wallace in that 67. One little bit of the fresher tire situation for this guy compared to most others on the track. I expect him to pass at least the 7 in the 03 to move himself into 7th. I'm not sure if he's going to gain any other positions other than that. And to round out the top 10 through 133 laps, the 46 is Simon Magden, still running really impressive stuff here, getting a little loose off of turn 2. But still up 13 spots, Ken, since the start of the race.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of move there is going up. I think the only one a little bit better than that's going to be running in 4th place right now is Moreau. Who's went up 15 spots. But kind of looking back, Jeremy, the James Wallace, looking at who he has in front of him and where Josh Mayu and Chris Beck are sitting, almost a lap down here. there's a possibility that he could move up into that 5th place if with these new tires, is depending on how much speed he can carry with these guys. And like I mentioned, he came down running in 10th on that first pit stop. He came down, so anything above that I think is kind of a gain in his book. And right now it's just 1 spot, but this could pay off, Jeremy, where he possibly could move up, possibly into that top 5.
Yeah, he really could, as we're watching him try to do that. I want to do a quick shout out to the brand new website launched just yesterday, wraps.nerditudes.gg. If you guys are looking for a complete custom paint skin in any car on the iRacing service, make this one of your first places to stop at. Check out the brand new fresh site. Dustin's put a lot of work this past week or so onto this thing, and it looks really impressive. I'm happy to see this thing finally launched. So once again, if you're looking for a brand new car wrap, you're going to go to wraps.nerditudes.gg, as we got currently 33 laps to go, or 32 laps to go. The 8 and the 15 are bumper to bumper here as you're on board now with Nicholas Moreau, going through turns 3 and 4 now. It's really tough to pass the guy who's running the same lap times as you, so you just have to either A, make him make a mistake, or B, you just got to find something crazy to make it happen. And the 8 kind of shifted a little higher than what he has been normal, and now it's allowed the 15 to the inside, and they got 2 lappers in front of him as well. So who is going to get the preferred lane?
This is what Nicholas needs to do if he's going to try and win this race, is get in front of Paul and either possibly pull a little bit on him or just keep him behind him, whatever he can do, because as we saw, Paul definitely has the car towards the later part of this run. He's going to have the speed, as he's right there on the back of Nicholas as well. So as you mentioned, all it takes is a little movement or a little bobble, and next thing you know, that guy behind you could be there. So it could be the same thing with Paul here in a couple of laps. We never know.
As they go through the lap traffic here, as long as the 15 can weed through them just fine, it should be no problems here. You see the 7 of Wayne Grossi coming to the picture. He is currently a lap down, trying to get his lap back, but he's faster, so it could shuffle these guys a little bit into a lane they don't want to be in. Right now, Paul and Nicholas are separated by 0.3 of a second as they come into turn 3 this time. The 15 runs a little bit of a slower entry for the 44 being on the top side of the track. Allows Paul to temporarily close in on the 15, as now he has to worry about the 44 on the top. I think they're trying to go 3 wide. Wayne Grossi kind of blinking in and out. Can't see exactly where he is, but we can't see where he's at. This is kind of sketchy entering turn 1 here.
Even Paul's saying he's blinking like crazy, can't see where he's at. So I'm sure Paul's oh, there, hey, we're back. So and we're gone again. Yeah, that's not what you want to see out there, especially Wayne, who's trying to get his lap back, and Paul's the same way. He's battling for second, battling for the points lead. Definitely doesn't want to see that. You see him right up on the high side, Jeremy, trying to keep away from him right now. Hopefully Wayne will get that under control. Kind of looks like it's settled down for a little bit right now. As you see the Guerrero jump right in front of the 8 of Paul, so Paul's in a little bit of a hornet's nest right now.
And that mentally just temporarily takes you out of the race. You have to all of a sudden go from, I need to run down the 15 to, oh man, I can't wreck myself by trying to drive through someone's car that's blinking in and out. Terrible position for the 8. And it dropped him back 0.4 of a second trying to run that top side to get away from the 7 temporarily. But now since the 7 is stabled out connection-wise, Paul can then kind of refocus and try to do what he's trying to do. But the 15 tried getting around the 50, or at least on the bottom half of 3 and 4, and got a little choked up there. So it allows the 8 of Bergoli to temporarily make ground that lap.
Yeah, I can totally, when I'm doing some open, you'll see that car that blinks out for a little bit. It's like it pops a wheelie or something, and it just takes your complete focus off driving, and you're trying to see what happens to that guy, and it's just a little glitch in the system, but definitely takes you out of your rhythm. As we see the 50 there with newer tires, was able to get around the 15 and slowed him up, as you mentioned, and that's going to allow Wayne to get around him as well, and Nicholas not even going to fight it. But even with all that, Jeremy, Paul's still right there, so they all had to miss that. But look who's right behind him. That 67, James Wallace. He's here to get his lap back the old-fashioned way once again for the 3rd time tonight, and that's going to put him in that 6th spot, with Wayne being his next closest competitor there in 5th, Jeremy. So the only thing that sits between him and a top 5 is Wayne Grossi just in front of him.
The strategy is definitely playing out for that 67. I don't know if he had a car to be in 5th place per se, but the way he's doing what he's doing on the track tonight, he's only, a second or so back of that 7 car to put himself into the top 5 position. So kudos to the 67 team with their strategy playing well for them, as he's trying to get around the 15 at this point, which is temporarily going to take the 15 out of his racing line. and allow that 8th Paul Bergoli to get back within 0.2 of a second on this 15, kind of shaking up this lead just outside 20 laps to go.
Yeah, Paul's enjoying seeing that, as that's going to bring him a little bit closer there. 67 is going to pull right in front of the 15 Nicholas, and that's going to put him back on the lead lap. So that'll put us 6 cars, Jeremy, now on the lead lap. Quite a bit, and I don't think they're going to be able to run anyone else down. They might possibly get some if something happens, but those 2 that are sitting there in 5th and 6th, Jeremy, are going to pull ahead from them because they do have this fresher set of tires. But there's still a battle there for that first spot, Jeremy. Paul's not giving up, and he's right on the back bumper of Nicholas, and I think we're going to see this all the way down to the end of the race, Jeremy, where they're going to be sitting here within a couple car lengths of each other.
23 laps remain in this Homestead-Miami Speedway 250. You're seeing the main action on the track. This is one of the few battles currently on the track, and also the most important position for first place. So this race coming down to the wire has not disappointed between these two. It's always kind of funny to see the championship running cars, at least for this particular season and season C. It always baffles me that you can be mixed up throughout the, each and every week, but when it comes down to the final couple races, whoever's in first and second in points, that's who you see up in the front. In this case, it's the 15 and the 8. So definitely showing that they're the class of the field for this season.
Yeah, it's either one or the other. That they've been kind of swapping back and forth on top 1 and 2 there, and I think Paul's I believe he's still on the streak of having a podium in every race. Correct me if I'm wrong there. So he definitely wants to keep that streak alive as well. We're coming down to 3 races to go, and he's looking like he's going to have himself another podium. I think we got Brody sitting about 4 seconds back of those guys. So unless something happens, so we'll definitely be having another word with him. So definitely wants to keep that streak going. But speaking of Brody, Jeremy, he's sitting 3rd place still, 4 seconds back, but he's got 7 seconds on 4th place. So he's sitting right where he wants to. He's going to gain a couple points here on Wayne as well, and James Wallace. So good run there for Brody Hanna so far tonight.
Yeah, the 23 started off coming out of pit road 9.3 seconds back. Now he's only 4.1 seconds back, gained 5, and he's got 20 laps to go to get there any more ground. And might be a little closer than I was even imagining it being. I don't know if he has the speed to get there to 2nd place. The only time will tell there. Headed over to the chats. I was going to mention that Dustin dubbed Podium Paul, and then Surfer Punkcat says, hey, I want to call it out first. Podium Paul, going to be 8 for 8 if he can clinch a top 3 tonight, which looks like he's all but there. Would not expect anything different. So Podium Paul trying to go 8 for 8, which that's an impressive stat all by itself. We'll do another quick shout out to swag.nerditudes.gg. That's right, 2 Nerditudes plugs in a row, because we got a lot of good content coming out from the Nerd Camp. So any type of swag related things, you see those gloves there on the left of the shirt, that is fresh off the press. They're looking really good. You definitely need to get yourself a pair of those if you want to perform at your peak performance on the track. And any other swag items, they got a good selection so far, and it's only going to continue to grow. And you're going to get, once again, everything at swag.nerditudes.gg. Heading off into turn 3 and 4 to come up to lap 151. It's going to be 17 laps to go. And Kenny, these guys have not separated at all. Still around a 10th or 2 off each other.
They are, and as we see here on NERDtv as well, you got James Wallace and Wayne Grossi here. They're battling it out for that top 5. James is trying to get around Wayne, and he's there. He just can't do it. It's kind of the same thing with right behind him with Nicholas and Paul battling for the lead. They're within a couple car lengths of each other. It's just a matter of getting a run and see what they can do with it. But James he's looking, Jeremy. He's looking high. He's looking low. He's trying to see where he can make this happen. He's only got 17 coming to 16 laps to go. So his time is dwindling down on when he's going to make that move.
Yeah, his 67, James Wallace, has a tough task here. He's been really fast in passing cars left and right, but when the car in front of you knows you're for position, kind of changes things up a little bit. These guys they were a big difference in speed, really, but then as the 67 got to the 7's back bumper, it's kind of mellowed out at this point. You see James get a good launch on corner exit, but Wayne Grossi able to hold the speed on entrance and center, able to keep that distance there between him and James Wallace. So really good battle here for just inside or at the top 5.
Yeah, real good battle there. Just keeping the only ones inside the lead lap here. James Wallace is going to be the last one, and he gets the run there, Jeremy. He's gets up to it, but as soon as they get about middle of the corner there to exit, he might lose a little bit and see if he's going to try moving up a little bit, see if he can get a run on here on the backstretch. I think he's going to actually lose a little bit as they're heading into 3 and 4 there. So now he knows that's definitely not the line that he needs to take if he wants to do it. But looking a little bit further back, Jeremy Paul, he's closing the gap there on Nicholas. I mean, he's within a car length or half a car length now. He's looking on the outside as you see Nicholas get a little loose there as they're coming off of 4. And that's going to put Paul right there. He's about a car length back, Jeremy, as they're heading into turn 1.
Yeah, the 15 kind of rotated a little too much through turn 4 specifically. Kind of cost him a little ground than he could have made on corner exit, where he's been a little stronger than the 8. Coming off of turn 2, it's a complete different story. You see the 15 just drive off a couple car lengths extra through the backstretch portion here. But you come into the corner, you see Paul just drive it in so deep, a little heavier on the brake, and he makes the center of the corner stick. So the 8's really found something here through 3 and 4. Now, if he can do the same thing in 1 and 2, he might have a new leader.
This is the time to find what line's going to work the best. I mean, you know, these guys have been working on it, but now it's time to put it down. We got 13 laps to go. A little bit of bobble there by the 15. A little more coming off the corner. That's going to get the speed. You see Paul here closing the gap, looking on the inside. They're heading down into turn 3. 15's just going to shut the door on him, Jeremy. He's going to sit there and just ride right on that low side. That's what Nicholas Moreau needs to do. He needs to keep that 8 behind him, and no matter what he did, and that was a perfect little, not, I wouldn't call it a block, but it was definitely, he closed the line on him and shut the momentum down.
That's definitely the 15's preferred line too, so he definitely did not want that taken away from him, especially for the guy for position. And when he got to the front nose there of the 8, that took off so much air off the car, it shot straight up to the outside turn 4 wall. Didn't make contact, but you saw his car kind of wiggling, got a little upset being outside of his normal racing line. So he has to regroup here, gets back into turn 3, able to drive it in so deep like he has been on this third stint of the green flag runs. But just turn 4, the 15, Nicholas Moreau has that thing dialed in through there, able to get a good launch as well. And 1 and 2, let's see if the 15 can carry that momentum to get back to another 3 car lengths.
Had a great entrance there on turn 1. Nice and smooth the whole way through. Turn 2, Paul almost into the outside wall, was able to carry all that momentum up. He's going to, I thought he was going to look to the inside there, but no, he's going to settle in. He's going to sit there and try and take the high side. It's been working so far. He's getting right to that back bumper, Jeremy, trying to slow up that momentum, but I think Paul will have to get out of it just a little bit, and yeah, it's going to let Nicholas clear him as they're coming off of 4, heading down to 10 laps to go.
Excellent race so far between these two, nice and clean all the way. I thought the 8 was going to have that grip in the middle lane there at turn 3. But when we got to turn 4, it's just Paul just does not have the grip level the 15 does in that corner specifically. It allows for the 15 to clear him, and that's the worst corner to have the difference there, because that's the final corner before the start-finish line. So if you're going to need to make a run, you want turn 4 to work for you. If you can't get that to work, you really need 1 and 2. Right now the 15, I think, has Paul's number in that section, but right now nose to tail, coming up or on lap 9 to go. The 8 right next to his right rear quarter panel there. Runs a little bit different line, Ken. Runs a little higher there, gets back to the bottom. It's going to shoot back up a little bit higher. Pretty good race overall.
You can see the 15 kind of turned down a little bit sooner into the corner than he has been previously, just to take away that line there that the 8 was trying to get with the momentum that he had. And I think, you know, as you said, he's got his number here coming off of 4. Nicholas definitely has that line and keep it preferred. I think what Paul needs to do is kind of back it up and get a run for him, and he needs to kind of get on his inside there as they're heading down the front stretch. I think if he can get onto his inside and possibly have him move up a little bit, he'll be able to take it, because that's just what's holding him up there. But we see the 15 there, Jeremy, a little bobble coming off, and he's going to move down to the inside, and Paul's going to look on that inside run. That's what Nicholas did not need, and yeah, that's what Paul wanted right there. Just a little bobble by the 15, and there Paul is to take that inside run from him.
Let's see what the 15 can do, not being in his preferred line here, side by side. The 15 gets loose, touches the 8's quarter panel. I think that's safe. The 8 and the 15 both from spinning, or at least the 15 rather. He got loose. Thankfully, there was no incident involved. That would have been huge for like Brody Hanna, who's only 2.5 back of these guys now. He was really hoping that would have ended a little differently, but thankfully it did not. Nick just running a little loose, looks like on the top, so it just proves the 15 cannot run the middle of the track and allows the 8 to clear him by at least 5 car lengths here. Coming up to 6 laps to go, Paul Bergoli now takes the race lead.
It's not what Nicholas, he did not want to get out of it. He was trying to keep in as much as he can and keep that outside, keep it side by side, and not sure if that kind of put a little bit more wear on those tires. He's got 6 laps to go. We'll have to see where this plays out. I'm not sure if he'll be able to catch back up to Paul and kind of get that run there. As far as Paul did, it looks like Paul's kind of gapping him a little bit here, so might have had a little bit more wear on those tires than he wanted to with that little side-by-side battle. And as we see looking ahead, Jeremy, 67, James Wallace was able to take that 5th place away from Wayne Grossi and put him into a top 5. So great strategy on this extra pit stop for him.
Yep, finally able to make the pass just a couple laps prior. Moves James Wallace up into the top 5. You see them, those 2 guys in particular, running the same exact distance as the 15 and the 8 were for the past 20 laps. So it's not over just yet for James Wallace, as he's still got to make sure the 7 stays in his rearview mirror to claim that top 5 and make sure that strategy is going to maximize what he can out of it. Going back over to the race leader, Paul Bergoli now has a 0.4 of a second lead over Nicholas Moreau, who has been just in a dominant fashion for the most part this race. All coming down to the wire, and one little bobble there by the 15. That's all it took for they to clear him. Moves him about 7 car lengths now, separation between first and second place. 4 laps to go. I know we're down to a couple laps left, but a quick shout out also to the last NERDtv plugin. It's going to be tv.nerditudes.gg. So if you're looking to have one of us broadcast one of you in any league format or special event, hit us up, tv.nerditudes.gg. 3 laps to go now, Ken. Paul Bergoli out to just over half a second lead. And I think as long as the 8 keeps it clean, I think this is where they're going to be finishing.
Yeah. Not much ground gain there. Nicholas, I think he might have got a 10th or even half a 10th on that one. So not what he wanted. He's getting loose off of 2, Jeremy. He's trying. He's giving it all he can. He's trying to push it as much as he can, but I just don't think it'll be enough. And kind of jumping back to James Wallace, this is what he needs. He was sitting 10 points outside of Richie for the playoffs, and now he's going to be the one looking to be the points leader, Jeremy, as they're heading into Martinsville, trying to secure his chances to the last championship round of there at Phoenix. And this is what he needed. Him and Brody and Wayne, really, those 3 are going to be sitting pretty good here after this race is all said and done. And I believe they're all going to be probably within about 5 points of each other. So nice, consistent race is what they needed. But Jeremy, we see Paul right here. He's heading down into turn 3 and 4 with 2 laps to go. I don't think we're going to see a fight from Nicholas. So as long as Paul can come around and keep this thing clean for one more lap, we might be seeing ourselves a winner right here. So here we come into the white flag right now.
White flag is in the air. One more lap for Paul Bergoli. The 15 out of the picture at this point, just off of speed and the amount of space between these 2 guys. Shout out to Brody Hanna, who looks like he's going to be finishing 3rd place. He went from 9 seconds back to 2.2 seconds. What a great charge to the field, but it's just not going to be enough time for that 23. Going back over to the 8, coming through turns 3 and 4 for the last time. This is going to be the winning moment presented by Martin Sports, as Paul Bergoli is going to get himself yet another victory, this time at Homestead-Miami Speedway.
What a race there between those 2. That was a good battle. Other than that little bobble there, I kind of wish they wouldn't have had that little slide there. It would have been a nice little finish, but we saw Paul with that car there just late, had the speed. So good overall race. And Wayne and James, they're battling out for top 5. That was a good battle as well.
Yeah, excellent battle for sure. And they ended up 1 second spaced out there for 5th and 6th place. 67 never ceases to amaze me on these late runs and on these tire strategies as he kind of pumps out. But Paul Bergoli, spotlight's on you, my guy. We kind of dogged his burnouts this past couple times. I think he made it up, what was it, at Bristol, and then he hit the wall at the very end, and so we had to call him out on it. So as long as he can keep it wall-free, I think we'll give him, a round of applause.
He's going bring it around one more time. Was letting those guys in front of him finish because they were just a couple seconds away from him. So he's going to go down here, and he's got a pretty good sized front stretch here, Jeremy. So I think we'll should be pretty okay on this one. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, my. Paul Bergoli, what are you doing out here? He takes the first instance to hit the wall. Of course, we'll have to give him that as he comes down for his post-race interview in just a little bit. But now he's going to burn it down the rest of the way. And actually, that was a quick burnout. I think he's a little ashamed, Ken. You know what I think?
I think he might be just doing it on purpose now, just to smack the wall a little bit. I mean, that was the first thing he did.
That was a very talented, casual-looking mistake there that could have been intentional. He's been doing it so often now. He might be a professional at this kind of thing, but we're going to go down the finishing order here tonight. It's at Homestead. Paul Bergoli, obviously going to bring home first place tonight. Nicholas Moreau with a great run here. Second place tonight. Third place, Brody Hanna. Fourth place, Fred Moreau, up 15 positions. Hard Charger award goes to him. Fifth place, James Wallace, 21st to 5th. Another great performance there. Sixth place, Wayne Grossi. Seventh place, Josh Mayu. Eighth place, Lane Allen. Ninth place, Chris Beck. And to round out tonight's top 10, David Courier.
Coming home in 11th is going to be Alex Murphy. 12th is Simon Magan. 13th is going to be Joshua Johnson. 14th, Martin Garreau. 15th is going to be Ryan Hedrick. 16th is Brian Dubois. 17th is going to be Alan Correll. 18th is Brian Buis. Chad Wayne's going to come home in 19th. And round out the top 20 is going to be Chris Curtis.
21st, Jonathan Vachon. 22nd, you'll find Richie Coy. 23rd, Ryan Chapman. 24th, Tony Solari. 25th place, Justin Diltz. 26th place, Stephen Lou Allen. 27th, Matthew Vachon. And that is going to round out tonight's 27-car field. And as these guys are getting ready for the post-race interview, it is our time to take our final commercial break. We'll be back after you guys after a few short messages to talk to your top three.
The vibration in this car is the worst vibration that I've ever had, and the shifter's broken again.
And welcome back, race fans, here for the post-race interview time now for the Martin Sports post-race show. We're going to talk to your top three and see what their thoughts were of this 1.5-mile Homestead-Miami Speedway. First up, third place, the driver, the number 23, Brody Hanna. Do you have a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Hey, man, great race overall. That last pit stop, you extended it out a little bit further, and you came out 9.3 back, and I was like, I don't know about this, but you really surprised me driving up 7 seconds and almost getting to those guys. What more did you need out of that car to get up to them?
I needed the playoffs not to be happening and us not going to Martinsville next week. That's what I needed. And unfortunately, tonight I was points racing. I just wanted to get solid finish going into Martinsville, to be honest with you. I was a little conservative there on that last pit stop coming to pit road. I could have been a little bit faster there. May have lost a little time there. And honestly, I wasn't too focused on catching those guys. Although, when it got to about 4 seconds, I was like, well, this might happen, especially if they get racing. I was focused on Fred. I just wanted to conserve a third place finish. This is not one of my better tracks. So to finish third here with what we had is pretty impressive. And I'll tell you guys something. We found something this week. And don't let them tell you any different. There's a little thing you can change to really change how this thing drives on the long run.
Yeah, we could, we were kind of watching you sit there, and we heard you say earlier in this playoffs that you were kind of going to do some points racing, and as we figured, nice and clean race. I think this is going to put you 1 point outside of first there. With Richie missing the start of this race, so I think you'll just be one outside of James Wallace, which is great going into Martinsville. Not having too much to worry about, just kind of keep it clean. But yeah, and I think if I recall, I think you were the winner of Phoenix, season A this season. So that's probably pretty good, feeling there as well heading into this last couple of races.
Yeah, it is, and the car's changed a lot since then. We've learned a lot since then, so I don't really know if much is going to apply to what we've learned earlier this season. But yeah, Phoenix is a good place for us usually, and looking forward to it. Yeah, as far as the points, unfortunately, and I'll tell you because I don't know if you guys knew, but Richie was unable to really start the race on time. He had a little delay in the air traffic, which sounds pretty realistic if you ask me. Anyway, was unable to start the race, so he started way laps down. Wasn't racing for points really. I'm racing that cutoff line for the playoffs. That's the focus. I wanted to gain some points on that cutoff line because Martinsville, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, you always walk into that place with just an open book saying, hopefully I can just survive, especially how the next gen cars do drive there at Martinsville. Not the preferred racing that the next gen cars have at the short tracks, but yeah, good thing Rich was able to make it back in and get himself 5 positions from getting into his car, so it helps him out a little bit. But I'm sure you would like those few extra points as well to try to get that championship overall. But before we let you go, floor is yours. Any final thoughts tonight?
I just got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. I really got to thank everybody out there in the league. What an awesome race, a clean race. There was really no issues out there. Everybody just was able to hang on. I mean, the car was not easy to drive on old tires, so kudos to everybody that was out there tonight. Did a great job. I can't say that enough. I enjoy racing these guys. I mean, Paul, he's quick. Nick, he's quick. But like I said, we're getting close on this thing. We're gonna start challenging these guys for sure. But got to thank the team. Got to think. Me and Tony worked a good bit on setups this week, trying to tweak and kind of get them together. Unfortunately, Richie's been busy, so and I guess that's about it. Look forward to next season or next week.
Well, your and Tony's work definitely showed off, and kind of excited to see what these next 2 weeks look like with this little thing that you found inside this next gen car for those long runs to work. So, but congratulations once again. Good luck for the final 2 races, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir. And that was your 3rd place finisher, Mr. Brody Hanna. Now it's time to talk to 2nd place, Nicholas Moreau, who had a really dominant car, and it took him all 100 laps to finally find himself in 2nd place. But nonetheless, Nick, you got a copy.
Yes, sir.
Excellent drive, man. Especially from last week, I expected the long run to be very similar for you. And you had an awesome car. What was the difference between the first 2 stints and the last stint for you?
Well, the track was a bit warmer than the what I practice on, so I was a bit too loose. So I just make some changes before the race, and I just missed it. So the car was not really what I wanted, but overall the car was good for sure. But Paul was too fast for me. It deserved it, and very, very hard battle, clean battle, was fun. But yeah, compared to last week, I had not the same car, and I just tried to make the best because the track was not like I practiced on. So
Yeah, you had it right there. Very, very clean, very hard battle between you two. And, it was, I mean, you almost got into it. They're coming off of 4, had a little ball, but looked like off of 2. And looks like you might have been trying to stay in it and stay side by side. But that was a close little battle. But you think the tires were kind of shot there with about 5 to go after that? Or is it just too much too late?
Oh well, I tried to change every pit stop I made, but I was just too tight and then you got loose off, So I tried hard to keep the pace, trying to keep the bottom, but when Paul got me inside, I was like, oh no, I just unable to be full throttle on the outside, and I tried and I got loose, almost hit him, and well, yeah, was so close.
Well, great performance nonetheless. I know you ran the fastest lap tonight, single lap on lap 119. So you found a little bit of speed there toward the end of the race. But the floor is yours, man. Who would you like to thank out there watching tonight?
Yeah, I will say thank to Transit, Easy Web Pro, and Lassie Sport. Thank you guys, and congrats Paul again, and Brody for the podium. He was fast. Thank you guys. See you hopefully next week.
Likewise, man. Good luck next week at Martinsville.
Thank you.
And that is your second place finisher, Mr. Nick Moreau. And now it's time to bring in the number 8, Mr. Podium Paul. Paul Bergoli, you got a copy.
I got you guys.
Man, what a drive. What a drive. You second, third, fourth, most of the race. And then after the second green flag pit stops, you found a little extra speed. Actually, before that pit stop, even you got to the back of the 15, you could not get around them. You made that pit stop happen one lap sooner, got you temporarily out at front, and then you actually lost that position, but you got it back. So just kind of walk us through that and how are you able to bring it home P1?
You had to save tires here, man. I saw they were pushing a little too hard, him and Brody both there at the beginning of all their runs. So I just tried to stick to the plan, and I knew it'd come to me. I was hoping to get Nick on the short pit the first go around, but I figured I'd get him again on the next one.
Yeah, we could definitely see you had that long run there saving your tires, because I think towards the end there with the last 15 of that green flag run, you were about 2/10 faster than those guys at the front. So it definitely paid off and got in there. But that was a great move you made there with about 6 or 7 laps to go on that inside, and a little bit of contact, but it was able to get clear of it and pull away. So overall, I mean, that's eight podiums in a row. I mean, 2 away from getting the whole season worth. So it was a great run there for you for sure today.
Oh yeah, I'm happy with it, and yeah, Nick's he's great to race with. I enjoy racing him, and I saw him get loose there and knew I might have been in trouble, but he kept it out of me. He tried harder keeping it out of me than he did straight, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, that could have been really bad, but fortunately for both of you guys, nothing really turned up from that. But congratulations once again, man. Floor is yours. Any final thoughts tonight before we let you go?
Oh man, just got to thank the league again for racing clean. That was a long race with no caution, so that made my plan work. Watson for bringing me another set, and Lifted Made for keeping me lifted, and yeah, that's about it, man. Try again next week.
Yes, sir. Well, good luck to you. Going for 9 for 9 next week.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a hard one.
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of those tracks where you just kind of throw it up, kind of like a Talladega in a way. It's like you got to have a fast car, but then you got to avoid the wrecks that you know are going to happen. So wish you the best of luck, and we'll catch you next time.
We'll give it our best. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir. And that was Paul Bergoli, tonight's race winner. Win number 4 of the season. We only had 8 races, and he's won half of them, Ken.
Yeah, it's a heck of a season they're both putting on, him and Nicholas. It's kind of like they just keep on swapping back and forth. But, on the flip side of EC Brody, who's just keeping it nice and consistent, just looking at that playoff picture, just trying to get the Phoenix where he's won earlier this year. So a couple different strategies playing out between everybody here closing in this season.
Yes, sir. And as we close down tonight's broadcast, I'd like to thank our partners one last time. Without them, we're not doing this for you guys, so we got to show our appreciation. First and foremost, martinsports.gg for top quality apparel to make you look stylish and feel comfortable at the same time. And I think I have a little something here. These gloves, these NERDtv gloves, fresh off the press. Pick up a pair of gloves from martinsports.gg. Going to really improve your endurance style racing. Your hands will not be sweaty at all. Please make sure you check them all the products really at martinsports.gg. iRacing iFlag. Get notifications fraction of a second faster without ever leaving the focus away from the monitor. So visit iRacingIFlag.com for the full product line. The butt kicker. Get that ultimate feel from the race car with haptic response from the butt kicker. Visit thebuttkicker.com to see a full lineup of haptic products for your sim rig. Thank you to Roasted Gems Coffee. Premium coffee beans roasted just for you. Start your day the right way with coffee from Roasted Gems Coffee. Visit their website at roastedgems.com to get a taste. And a quick shout out as well to the league, FTSR.net. Appreciate the continued support here for the Nerded Twos and vice versa. It's been a great ride with you so far. We're closing down to the end of the season. We got one race left for you guys, which will be at Phoenix. We're going to be off next week for Halloween, at least on the broadcast side. So you'll catch us in 2 weeks at Phoenix. And that's going to bring the close here to the broadcast. Appreciate you guys tuning in, filling up the chats. Always a great time. But as always, until then, get your nerd on.